So today is actually a pretty special day because this is the 1,000th episode of Secular Talk. That's a huge number. Dude, I'm 28. I'm not even 30 yet, and we have 1,000 episodes. That's ridiculous. For the 1,000th episode, I want to go ahead here and answer your questions. So yesterday I mentioned on Facebook, hey, it's a special tomorrow, 1,000th episode, so go ahead, fire away, and I'll answer as many as I can. Now, I got like 40 fucking questions or thereabouts in front of me. I'm going to get through as many of them as I can. We obviously have limited time here, but let's see what we can do. So I'll give your guys names too. I figure you don't mind being shouted out on air. We'll see. Jamie Rogers asks, when do you think America will catch up to all other modern nations in things like healthcare, for example? Here's my simple answer to that. I don't know. But it's easy to fall into this trap of thinking that, not that there's a plan and that there's a reason for everything, but that things will evolve and unfold in a certain way, and the trends of history are irreversible. On some issues, I think that's probably true, but on other issues, it's not. So, like, on some social issues, it appears like gay marriage, it just won, and the tides of history overwhelm the conservatives. It just is what it is. I think on marijuana legalization, that's happening as well to a lesser extent, but it is happening. There's trends of history, and you can't beat them back. On economic issues, not so much. Why? Because the big corporations spend so much money to stifle advancement on these issues, to get universal college, for example, universal education. So I don't know when we're going to catch up to other modern nations, or if we are. I hope we do, but the bottom line is this. We have to fucking fight for it. You can't just sit around, eventually it'll happen and somebody else will do the work. No, we got to do the fucking work. We have to fight for it. That's what Bernie Sanders' movement is about. That's what this political revolution is about. And we can't get lazy on it because it's not a guarantee. You have to earn it all. So that's my answer to that one. Patrick Gage asks, do you believe there is a psychological abnormality in ultra-conservatives that create very selfish needs to many social issues? Common sense gun control, helping out poor people, wanting a deep-seated religious government body is a few examples. No, I say no to that. But there are, broadly speaking, general differences. So we've seen studies that indicate that conservatives and actually religious people are, on average, happier than non-religious people and liberal people. I think that's probably true. Again, it's not a 100% thing across the board, but just, numbers. On average, that's what we're looking at. Now, on the flip side of that, it's also true. We've seen studies that indicate that liberals are smarter, and they're more willing to follow the evidence to its logical conclusion, as opposed to conservatives who will take their beliefs as axiomatically true, like it's just true by definition, and then they work backwards to try to, rationalize it. So, no, I don't think that you can just, it's that simple and it's that black and white. But yeah, I do think on average you could talk about these general differences in the mindset, and some studies have borne out some different things. Stephanie Hook asks, do you read your YouTube comments? And what is your favorite planet and why? Which planet do you like to live on? I like living on Earth. My favorite planet, though, Stephanie, is Uranus. I had to do it. Why'd you throw that down the center of the plate for me? And do I read YouTube comments? No. You gotta understand, what do we post? 8, 9, sometimes 10 videos a day, 5 days a week? Dude, if I went through those comments, I might end up killing myself. Because, obviously a lot of you guys are great, and you'll just say, hey, keep it up, good work, this and that. But every once in a while, there's just a fucking nuclear bomb of idiocy. And I'm like, oh, God, how do you exist? How do you exist? Stop existing with this fucking, are you trying to not make sense? Sometimes I feel like that when I read the YouTube comments. The overwhelming majority of you guys are great. And honestly, there's a lot of reasonable disagreement that goes on there too. But for my own sanity, and you have to, look, when you hit a certain level of being known, not that I'm insanely known, but I'm at a certain level where it's like, when you see what some people think of you who are not fans and the things they say against you, dude, we're all human. Like, what, you think I read that? Oh, I'm a man of steel, I can't feel anything. No, you're reading, oh, really? That's what it looks like? Oh, that's terrible. So the answer is mostly no. Every now and then, like sometimes I'll upload a video and then I have to go change the like the tint of the screen and the color correction stuff, and then I end up accidentally looking at a comment and I can't help but fucking respond. That's super rare, but every now and then that happens. But mostly no, I don't read it. I do, sometimes I do a lot of feedback back and forth on Twitter and stuff, but very rarely in the YouTube comment section. Alexander Scott asks, who is the sexiest politician in America at this point? That's a good question. I really don't know. Honestly, the only one that came into my mind when I heard that, and I really couldn't think of many others, is Tulsi Gabbard. And there's not, I don't know. I can't really think of many others. I don't know why that is, but that's the first one that comes to mind. Jamie Marshall asks, are there any videos that you have done that you regret or feel you could have done better? And what is an issue that you could have evolved your opinions the most on? Okay, so I could have done better in every video. Like, you guys will roll your eyes because sometimes I tweet about this too much, and this is not your cup of tea. It's my cup of tea. I'm a golfer, and you always feel at the end of every round, like, even if you had your best round ever, I fucking left 5 strokes out there. I could have been so much better. I missed this putt. I hit this drive into the right rough and got a bad lie. Whatever the case is. After every golf round, even if you played your best round ever, I could have done better. Could have done better. Could have done better. That's what commentary's like, too. I mean, even if I get a point that I wanted to make right, sometimes I think I didn't make it in the exact way I wanted to make it. Or, you know, I left out there all the time. I'm like, oh, there's one little point that I wanted to drop in there that I left out. And it's not easy. It's like anything else. Like, I feel like political commentary, in some ways, it's like riding a bike. Like, you really suck at the beginning. Or just talking in general, public speaking. You suck. Get a little better, little better. And then eventually you get to a point where in your own mind, you're peaking at 80% all the time. But it's super rare that you have a show where you walk away and you're like, I fuck 100% that show. 100%! Maybe I've had 2 or 3 or 5 shows in my entire time doing this where I was like, everything was perfect that show. But most of the time you're walking away going 70%, 80%, could have done a little better here or there. And an issue that I evolved on, that's a great question. So first of all, guns. For most of my life, I was the almost a standard right-winger on guns. Like, I have a very strong libertarian streak, and I think a lot of people in the audience recognize that. And that used to extend to guns, where I was in the camp of like, no, I want to have whatever the fuck I want to have. Fuck off. And I was also in the camp of like, you cannot punish people who didn't do anything wrong by taking away their guns because some other idiot did a shooting or whatever. So now I haven't gone the polar opposite of that. Like, there are many liberals who just flat out say ban guns or just severely regulate them to the point where you're almost ban them. I haven't gone that far to that end of the spectrum, but I definitely would say I'm in the middle now. I'm more moderate in the sense that I see nothing wrong with the proposals that the Democrats always talk about, banning assault weapons, banning high-capacity magazines, banning certain kinds of guns, having a giant buyback program, in some instances having some kind of a test if you want to graduate to a level where you're like a game warden and you have to have all these different guns, like having a permit system set up. So I'm not in favor of banning guns and taking away guns, but I am in favor of fucking regulating them. And, you know, I feel that way honestly because it's similar to how I feel about drugs. I would legalize, tax, and regulate drugs, but in that last word, regulation, there's a lot in there. So that means, like, crystal meth, the way it's made right now, that wouldn't be allowed. Crocodile, the way it's made right now, that wouldn't be allowed. That's this heroin derivative that makes your fucking skin rot off. Bath salts, and, like, that wouldn't be allowed. So you can have something legal and regulate it to the point where you're smart about it and efficient with what's available to the public. I feel that way about guns. I feel that way about drugs. I lean on the side of freedom, but you have to regulate it to be rational because you can't have people with fucking Scud missiles. You can't have people with tanks or chemical weapons or biological weapons or grenade launchers or RPGs. It's just common sense. So I used to almost do all right-wing talking points, and then I learned, man, I looked at the data, and I said, oh, shit. I used to think that more guns equals more peace. I used to believe that. And then I saw the data, and I was wrong. Because it's very clear. The United States has the weakest gun laws of the modern nations. We also have the most gun deaths. That's it. It's very simple. People on the right say more guns equals more peace. We already have more guns in America. We don't have more peace. We have more gun violence. 32,000 gun deaths a year, over 11,000 homicides. So it's obvious. It's obvious at this point when you look at the data and when you open your mind. So I shifted on guns. I used to just be a sheer libertarian right-winger on guns, and then I became a moderate, I would call myself. And I also evolved. This is super embarrassing to admit, but I had a little phase where I watched those, and I was young, okay? Get off my back, okay? Get off my back, I was young. When I went through a 9/11 truther phase, I was never full oh, it's all a conspiracy, but were there aspects of it that I was like, that's gotta be true, that's gotta be, to this day, I still say, I don't know what happened at Building 7, I don't know what happened at Building 7, I don't. How the fuck did that building come down? It didn't get hit by a plane. There was a fire. Yeah, buildings have fires all the time, they don't fucking fall. So I don't know what happened at Building 7. Now, today, I'm not in any way a 9/11 truther. But were there aspects of that story that I was like, okay, yeah, something's going on there? Yes. So I was at least partially a 9/11 truther for a brief period of time. And I've told the story before, that's one of the main reasons I got into politics, is that I watched Bill O'Reilly for a few nights, and I thought it was fascinating. I didn't necessarily agree with him, but I'm just like, oh, this guy's a great entertainer. And then I watched the 9/11 Truth documentaries, and I was like, oh shit, something's going on here. And I was amazed that you could have two different, people, one Bill O'Reilly, the other the people who made the documentary, and they just come to radically different conclusions on the same thing. And I was like, oh, I want to be involved in this thing, politics, because it's fascinating, and you can look for answers, and you can be entertained all the time, and it can just be super interesting. So I did. There was a point where I was like, building can't fall at free fall speed. Building can't fall at free fall speed. Now I'm not a truther at all, but I still don't have all the answers, and I don't know what the fuck's going on. And we do know that there are other conspiracies that are true. The Tuskegee experiments, for example, that's true. Bay of Pigs, that's true. Operation Northwoods, that's true. I honestly think if people are in the camp of no conspiracies are true, that's stupid. But also if you're in the camp that everything is a conspiracy, like Alex Jones, that's stupid. I think the answer's honestly somewhere in the middle. And let's see what else we got here. Oh, yeah. Big change of heart, big change of mind on NASA spending. And this, you guys can all give total and utter credit to Lilith Penn. Lilith Penn runs the Facebook page, does a bunch of stuff for Secular Talk behind the scenes here. She's great. She's helped tremendously over all this time. She's been with us for so long. And she changed my mind on NASA spending. So I used to be like Bill Maher, where he would argue, no, we have so many problems on Earth. Let's spend it on Earth, not going to the moon. It seems weird and like a waste of resources. And Lilith had to tell me, no, you idiot. When you spend on doing something like that, it's such a big project that you end up having, these upsides you don't even know you had. Like, you can invent the next internet, the next big thing, because you need to invent technology to do something as big as going to the moon. So it has all these effects where, you can invent the next internet or help the internet and come up with all these things that we need that helps life on this planet. You can come up with some sort of a cure or whatever in the process of trying to get to the moon and spending on NASA, because investing in science pays dividends like nothing else. So that I changed my mind on because of Lilith. I was fine with cutting the NASA budget. Now I'd increase the NASA budget.